All right. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, man. How was your weekend?
It was all right. Watched some football. Had
I was gonna ask
Oh yeah,
if you watch football once
I'm
once your Steelers are
I'm
eliminated.
still
Yes.
in on it. Absolutely.
Tom Brady, goat, right? Everybody hates hearing that.
I'm actually a Tom Brady fan. I like greatness. I've always been a fan of greatness. I love I as a kid growing up and watching athletes and hearing the stories of, oh yeah, but he's no Bobby Orr, or you should
Hmm.
have seen this guy back in his prime. So I like having like a Sidney Crosby and a Tom Brady. Like I love having great athletes regardless of what team they're on. So
I love great athletes when they're on my team. Listen, I blame my dad for this view because I was a Calgary Flames fan growing up in northern Alberta, where everyone is an Oilers fan.
right.
And as an 8-year-old in the 80s, there is no reason why I shouldn't have been cheering for the Oilers. Like the amount of enjoyment that that would have given me. But instead, my dad programmed me to dislike Gretzky, dislike Messier, cheer against the Oilers, which was, steady disappointment for the most part.
That's pretty rough, actually.
And it stuck with me. Like, I still can't help but cheer for the underdog.
Right.
What fun is that? I would way rather be a guy who is like, you know what? Love the Yankees all my life. How can I not cheer for the Yankees?
Uh,
But instead, here I am. I'm like, fuck the Yankees. Everything they do bothers me. Everything every great team does bothers me because my choices in teams have all been, underperformers. We'll call
yeah,
them.
that's a great way of putting it. You're sounding good today. You got some new gear.
Oh, I did. I did. I got a new mic for Christmas, and then I had about a month to decide if I liked it and wanted to upgrade or not. And so yesterday went to Long and McQuaid and did the big upgrade. And yeah, buddy, pretty excited. I can't financially afford it, but I hope all of you out there appreciate the sacrifice that I've made.
Oh, I can tell you right now, I appreciate it.
Awesome. Let's start with welcoming the listeners. Thank you so much for tuning into the walk off. We've got an incredible guest for
Yes.
you, much like we do every single week. And that's the beautiful thing is that over this off season, we have managed to really line up some killer
Mm-hmm.
guests. And it does not stop today. We've got number 2 prospect in the entire Toronto Blue Jays organization, Jordan Groshans, joining us in about 20
Yeah.
minutes. He talks his time at the alternate site. He talks how excited he is about the prospects that are in the Blue Jays system right now. And he talks about how excited he is to put on that big league jersey. And of course, we're excited to see that too. So, again, 25 minutes. We'll get to Jordan Groshans. In the meantime, let's delve in a little bit here. The Toronto Blue Jays made a big signing this week, if you're going to count Mark Shapiro. That is
You know what? I do.
Yeah, me too. You know what? I don't know how a lot of fans feel. Well, it's pretty divided. I get the
Mm-hmm.
feeling from social media and stuff like that. I think that if you're gonna give a guy 5 years to get this team to this point and lay all this groundwork, it would be absolutely stupid to change captains of this ship at this point in the game.
Absolutely.
So he's locked in for another 5 years. Of course, Shapiro signed Atkins last year to a 3-year extension. So at this point, it looks like Atkins and Shapiro are going to continue to steer this
Mm-hmm.
ship. I can't stop using the ship analogy, I guess. This is just, we're on the open
Well,
waters right now
Shapiro,
here on the
it's
walk
right
off.
there in the
Yeah.
name.
Yeah, ship pyro, exactly. We don't need to get too much into it. I mean, I've already kind of stated before, and you too, we're both on the side that we think this management group is doing a good job so
Yep.
far. I mean, a lot of these decisions. I guess what I'm saying is the consensus on whether they've done a good job or not will be decided over the next year or two.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're still in the middle of figuring out exactly what they're going to add to this team.
Yes.
And I mean, they lost out on DJ LeMahieu. You were screaming from the rooftops right from the beginning when the Jays were in on him that this is just a ploy by LeMahieu to drive the Yankees price up, and that's exactly what happened. The Jays made a very reasonable offer to him. They made a 4-year, $78 million offer, and the Yankees countered with a 6-year, $90 million offer. So he chose term
Right.
and going back to New York over a slightly higher
I would too
yearly average. Yeah.
if I was him.
Especially at 32 going on 33. I mean, the guy's going to be 39 at the end of that contract. He probably retires before it even
Mm-hmm.
goes through. Like the 90 million is guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
It was a weirdly structured contract, and a lot of it had to do with the average AVU, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
Can I just say back to the Shapiro and Atkins thing here?
yeah.
You know, we talk about a management team laying a foundation and giving them a chance to see it through. The comparison that I would like to make is to the most recent Star Wars trilogy, which seems to be just as divisive as the Shapiro Atkins management team.
Okay. Yeah.
You love it or you hate it, or you love this one, you hate that one, and whatever. It's the same thing, I think. It's the first, what was that, number 7, I guess, was a J.J. Abrams directed movie. And then Ryan Johnson does number 8, and then everybody hated it, so they brought J.J. Abrams back for number 9. So he had to undo and rewrite, a bunch of the storylines that...
Boy, it just sounds like the Canadian government right now.
But this is the problem, right? Is like, one guy makes a deal with the thought in mind of like, well, this is going to help us 3 years from now. And then when somebody takes over before that deal works out and undoes it, then yeah, that deal does look like a bad deal, right? Because that prospect didn't work out, or that storyline was abandoned, or it just becomes a big mess.
Which is why I think it's so important that Rogers gave Shapiro and Atkins the chance to finish what they started.
Absolutely.
And honestly, man, in 2 years, if this team hasn't taken a major step forward from right here, I'm going to be yelling from the rooftops to fire these idiots. But right now, I really like the foundation that they've built. They've got an incredible farm system of top young prospects coming up the pipeline. They've laid the foundation of a very talented young core between Biggio, Bichette, Guerrero.
The farm system is
Gurriel.
still loaded.
The farm system is still loaded. We were ranked the number 5 farm system in all of baseball by Baseball America this year. So even with all these young players that have come up in the last few years, it still looks really good. Now, here we are, because we did lose out on LeMahieu. There are still the big 3 left. Springer, the rumors continue to circle that the Jays are big in on George Springer. He is their number 1 choice for what they want to land in free agency. And I kind of feel like the Jays are at the point right now where we're going to see something happen this week, whether it is they make their final offer to Springer. So the rumors are they offered him $125 million over 5 years, so $25 million a year, which is a pretty darn good offer. He's holding out because he'd like 175, but I think him seeing what LeMahieu got is going to tamper his expectations a little bit. I really don't think there's a team out there that's going to pay George Springer $35 million a year in a pandemic year. It's not going to happen.
I hope you're right.
And if there is, it's not the Jays. Yeah. I think the Jays kind of have their evaluation of what they're going to pay, and I don't know if they'll go over it, which is why the Jays may lose out on a few of these free agents. But I think now's the time to push all in. Give your final offer, because I would rather see them pay a little too much for the player they would like than just settle on the guy that falls in their lap, right? I would rather Edwin Encarnacion than Kendrys Morales, which is, I mean, there's a perfect example of this management team making this mistake before. And I think they learned a lot off that Encarnacion gaffe. I think it's why they're being more patient this offseason. They're not putting a bunch of pressure on the free agents, because that's how they lost Edwin, was they gave him that 4-year, $80 million offer, and they said, you have a week or we're moving on. And the Jays have not done this year. So
okay, let me follow your logic. That's what you want them to do right now, though. You want them to go all in, say, this is our final offer, take it or leave it.
Yes.
So we were just critical of the Edwin Encarnacion strategy because it blew up in our face, but you're saying this time it'll work.
Well, no, I just think that we're deep enough into free agency at this point, into the offseason, that the Jays, I mean, spring training is less than 4 weeks away right now. So when they made that offer to Encarnacion, that was literally at the beginning of November.
Okay.
Totally different
All right.
scenario, in my opinion, here. We're 3 months down the road
right.
from where they were with
That's
Edwin.
a good distinction to draw.
Yes, it is. But I do think they should do that
Okay.
now. I think now is the time to put your best offers out there for Springer, for Real Muto, for Bauer. Speaking of Bauer, I want him so bad, buddy. If we're gonna, I know I'm all over the place here. I would rather Bauer over anyone on the market
Really?
right now. I love the guy. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, this is the dude who can push this club to the next level.
Well, let's talk about that
I don't
then.
know.
Let's talk about Bauer for
Yeah,
a bit.
did you watch his vlog,
Yes.
his YouTube video on what he would like from a club?
Yes, I did. And I'm
Out of
sure you
free
have
agency?
strong opinions about what he said, as do I, but let's let you go first.
Well, let's run down what he was after. Okay? So he wants to be supported in his constant strive to get an advantage analytically.
Mhm.
He has always been very metrics driven, data driven, biometrics, right?
Mhm.
This is something that he has been ahead of the game since he was first drafted by the Diamondbacks.
Right.
The Jays are also heavy on analytics, especially this new management group,
Mhm.
or not new, but,
Mhm.
especially since they brought in Montoyo
Mhm.
to be the manager. He's big into analytics. I think it's a good fit on that forefront. Also, Nate Pearson is hugely analytically driven. He loves data. And I think that having a guy who can validate Pearson's strive to constantly be better and not turn away from new technology and stuff like that, not pull the old man baseball card.
Right.
I think that's huge. I think there's a lot of advantages to that. Bauer said geographically and market size is not a concern. He wants to go to a team that's building towards a World Series. The Jays look pretty healthy on that forefront.
Yeah.
They're not a World Series contender right now, but let's be serious. You add Trevor Bauer, that helps. Now, this one, it's funny because we talked about this one before and both of us dismissed it instantly and we're like, there's no way a team will allow this to happen. But one of the things that Bauer wants is he would like to pitch every 4 days. So let's look at this rotation for a second. Okay, so Hinge and Ryu, the ace of the Jays, and I think even with the addition of Bauer, Ryu is going to remain that number one pitcher in this rotation. I think he is our go-to guy until Bauer either completely knocks him off or Ryu slumps. I think right now Ryu is the number one guy.
Let me can I just pause this?
Yeah.
Let's make a made-up universe. Both guys are free agents. Ryu, Bauer, both free agents. You'd rather us sign Ryu than Bauer?
Yes.
All right. Interesting. Okay, I'm not going to argue
It's
it.
a toss-up.
I mean,
it's a toss-up. I'm not going to lie. I'm not firm on this stance. This isn't something I feel strongly about. I'm kind of looking at the optics right now and what they sold Ryu on, and I don't think that they would undercut his value by saying automatically. And I think Bauer's the type of guy that doesn't mind being the number 2 in a rotation. That's the feeling I get.
Okay.
So, statistically, Ryu last year was 10 times better on 6 days rest. That's not an actual number, not 10 times better, but you know what I mean. He was substantially better. I think when he had 6 days rest, his ERA was around 2, whereas when he had 5, it was closer to 4.
Okay, so typically 5 days is the standard. Is that correct?
5 days is the standard. It is the standard, correct. And Ryu, just for whatever reason, when there was in that 5-man rotation, they had a day off or whatever, he did a lot better on 6 days rest. Nate Pearson. Let's talk Pearson. Okay. He's our big stud pitcher. He's the young up-and-comer that everyone is excited about. Last year, he pitched almost 30 games, I think, of the 60. He was available. Okay. He pitched a lot out of the bullpen, very low innings. I don't have the actual number of innings he pitched. We could probably look that up real quick. But,
sure.
And the year before, he didn't pitch a lot of innings. So I don't think even if Pearson is at his healthiest, doesn't miss a game all year, that they won't allow him to go over 120 innings. So if they're not going to allow him to go over 120 innings, let's say he is healthy for the first 80 games of the year. He has 12 to 13 starts in those 80 games. That's going to average, if he's pitching about 5 to 6 innings, he's going to be around the 80 inning mark at the halfway point of the season. So the Jays are going to need to scale him back if they would like to either keep him in the rotation, or for him to even just continue to pitch. So what Bauer pitching every 4 games will allow them to do is they'll allow them to scale down the innings that Bauer is pitching. So now instead of maybe 7 innings, Bauer's pitching 5, but he's pitching every 4 games. And then you can piggyback him with Pearson. Pearson can come in and pitch an inning or 2 every 4th day, and keeps him in the rotation, keeps him continuing to pitch and ready for the playoffs if they do need him as a big arm in the bullpen, which is, I think, what would wind up happening just because of innings limits.
All right. So you think
Tanner Rourke was a mess last year. Robbie Ray had injury problems. I'm just saying, of all the teams out there, the Jays might be the most equipped to give him the opportunity to pitch every 4 days. What do you think?
So we just have 2 aces. They pitch whenever they feel like it, and then we just band-aid the rest of the games all season. I
was going to say the rotation is firm except for Bauer, who is slotted wherever the 4th day in the rotation would be.
Okay, so how do we work Ryu then? Ryu is better on 6 days rest, prefers 6 days rest. We still make him
prefers 6 days rest. Has straight up said he prefers 6 days rest.
Okay, but we still pitch him every 5 days? We say too bad, so sad?
No. What I was saying is, so let's say the rotation is Ryu,
okay,
Bauer number 2, Pearson 3, Rourke 4. Let's say Trent Thornton 5. Sure. This is all going to change. Or Robbie Ray. Ray is 4. Rourke is 5. So you pitch Ryu, you pitch Bauer.
3 other guys.
You pitch the other 3, and then Bauer, and then Ryu, and then Pearson, and then, so like you're just slotting Bauer in every 4th time.
And then are we okay? What I'm confused and concerned with is, do we just slot Ryu in every 6 days as well?
Yes.
So the first time through it works, right? Where it's Ryu, Bauer, 3 guys, Bauer, Ryu, right?
Yes.
But then 2 more guys, and then Bauer, and then our 3rd guy, and then Ryu.
There is going to obviously be some massage.
It sounds like such a nightmare.
It could be, and maybe it's not possible. However, if you start looking at the reasons why you might want to try to make it work, there are a lot of reasons to at least make an attempt at this.
Does Bauer have any history of pitching on 4 days, or is this just something that he just wants to do?
This is just something he wants.
So we don't know if he could even hold up for 4 days.
It's very true, and maybe
we pay him $180 million over 5 years. He pitches for half a season, throws his arm out. Great. Now what? I'm very concerned by this idea. I'm not against it, but it just seems so crazy.
He might be told to pound sand. I don't know. Like, that's the truth, right? Yeah. Who knows? Maybe it is a completely unreasonable request. Maybe it is. But I'm just saying, of all the teams out there that might want to try to attempt it, that are analytically ahead of the curve, that are into trying weird out there things, the Jays might be one of the top 10 teams out there that would be into trying something.
All right. I'll give you that. I will give you that.
I know you don't like it. I don't even know what to think about the every 4 day thing, although there are a lot of reasons why, especially the Pearson piggybacking off of him and keeping him into the later season. We'll see, man. And then the last thing I got on Bauer is how polarizing he is to the fan base. A lot of people either love him or they hate him. The people who hate him, I just got to say, he's playing the heel. I mean, you almost have to view him like a wrestler. You watch his videos and stuff, he leans into being the bad guy.
This is true.
You watch his vlogs, I don't get the real feeling that he's actually the piece of shit that sometimes people may come out to be, you know? And like you look it up. I googled yesterday for 20 minutes trying to find a teammate that didn't like Bauer. His teammates like him. He's not a problem in the clubhouse. I like him, man. I truly do think he's going to be one of the best pitchers in baseball for the next 5 years, and I just want a piece of him. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like I say that, I'll come out and say that. I just on this particular player, I really like him, and I think Bauer is only going to replicate what he's done.
Hey, I like him too. I love him. I've loved him since day one. Last off season, when everybody was all horny to spend money on a Garrett Cole, I was the one trumpeting, let's wait a season. You know, I'd rather have a Trevor Bauer than a Garrett Cole, and I still feel that way. You know, but that 4-day rotation does make my skin crawl a little bit.
That's fair.
I'm also not optimistic that we're going to land him, so I think part of my pumping the brakes is just me bracing for impact. I think ultimately I'm just hoping he doesn't end up in our division. I don't want to see him on the Yankees or the Red Sox.
No, me neither. Agreed. Yeah, this next week or two, man, it's going to be interesting. I think a lot of chips are going to fall in the next 14 days.
Well, they've got to, because pitchers and catchers are going to start reporting to spring training camp in 3 weeks. Yeah, right? So, especially for a pitcher, has to sign soon, right? And what is it, a month and a half until spring training starts for everybody else too? So, yeah, pieces are going to start falling soon. I think that LeMahieu signing hopefully set a low watermark for the free agency market. And then everybody else starts to realize
falls
that, like,
into place from there. Yeah.
It is COVID. You know, there's no fans in the seats. Attendance is down. Revenue's down. It is what it is.
100%.
Should we talk the new DH?
Yeah, let's get into some of the new rules here. So it has been confirmed 7-inning doubleheaders and runners on second to start extra innings is going to continue in 2021. Still up in the air for the DH across the board. I don't know why the MLB is dragging their feet on this. Either make it a universal DH or don't. Right. Like, let teams like I feel for National League teams.
How do you plan your roster around that?
Yeah, like what the hell, MLB? Let's get going. But there is an interesting DH rule that is being floated around right now. It's being pushed by Jason Stark of The Athletic, so it is a reporter that is kind of pushing this out there right now. Now, he even says he didn't invent this. This is something the MLB has tossed around a couple times over the last few years, and basically the idea of it is to... So I'll just say what it is. Okay, so the idea of it is the starting pitcher. So the DH is universal across the board, National and American League. But when you pull your starting pitcher, the DH spot disappears. So now all of a sudden, let's say you pull your starting pitcher in the fifth, and part of the reason for this is they're trying to come up with ways to encourage teams to keep their starting pitching in longer, which this would totally do. So the idea is when you pull your starting pitcher, the designated hitter also comes out, and you can either do this, you can put your DH in the field and kind of massage things around with who you're taking out. Exactly. Or you lose him altogether, the pitcher is now the batter, and obviously everyone's just going...
Sorry, when you say the pitcher is now the batter, you mean the replacement that came out of the bullpen would be slotted in.
The reliever would be slotted into the DH spot. Obviously, they're not going to hit relievers. It's just going to be a merry-go-round of...
Now you got a pinch hit off
the bullpen. And pinch hittings off the bench and stuff like that. It is an interesting idea. I don't know. When you first hear it, what do you think?
I was confused by it when you first started it, but it makes sense, and I really love it. if that's for both leagues.
It does add a layer of strategy that definitely was not there before.
Well, like you said, it gives a team a reason to stick with a pitcher the third time through the lineup if they know they can keep their DH in when they get up as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if that is. Would that make a difference? Like now that I'm saying it like that, we're talking about a pitcher facing another 5, 6 batters potentially, just so that you can get one extra swing out of your DH.
I think where it's really going to come into play is, let's say, in the fifth inning,
Okay.
your starter walks a
Mm-hmm.
guy, gets an out, and then allows a hit. Runners on first and second. You've got your DH, let's say
On deck for when you come up.
Nelson Cruz
Okay.
is hitting second coming up after. So it's going to make the manager go, you know what? Maybe I wish to try and get through this runners on first and second, one out jam with the starter so that I get another at bat with Cruz, who is obviously a much better hitter than anyone on the bench would be. Personally, I hate this idea. I'm not a fan at all. I was all for it at first, but I misunderstood the rule. So at first, I thought the rule was when you pull the pitcher, the DH comes out, but then you insert another hitter into that spot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they're almost two separate moves. The pitcher wouldn't take
So you have a starter DH and then a bullpen DH who's in for the rest of the game.
Now, I understand why this isn't the way the rule is, because the Tampa Bay Rays would completely ruin this rule, right? Because they would just start an opener anyways, put their worst bench piece
Right.
in the 9-hole in DH,
Yeah.
and then still just remove them after the first
Absolutely.
and then the second.
Oh, that's brilliant.
You're right back where you started.
I love
right?
it.
So I was all for it when this was the scenario,
Okay.
but I don't want to see pitchers hit, and I know they're not going to, but it's like ask yourself how many times. I know David Ortiz doesn't exist as a hitter anymore in the league. There aren't David Ortiz-esque DHs. You know, they've diversified that role, and in a lot of cases, teams are using the DH to roll through different players, and that's why you're seeing so much versatility on the field,
Right.
even on the Jays, right? You see guys like Biggio that are able to move to 6 or 7 different positions.
Right.
I mean, Biggio is a unicorn out there, but there are lots of guys who, if you can't play 2 positions, you're going to struggle, right? I don't know. The more I thought about this rule, the more I don't really like it. It just feels like you're trying to compromise. It's just either make it a universal DH rule or keep it the way it is. Yeah. I don't understand why we need to come up with this new rule, but I could just be being an old man. Who knows?
Yeah. I don't know. The thing with any rule change is when you make one rule change, there are usually 5 or 6 unforeseen trickle-down effects.
Exactly.
Right? So you do got to be a little bit careful when you modify one rule. And
the first thing Major League Baseball should be doing when they come up with any new rule, the first question they should be asking is, how will the Tampa Bay Rays ruin this for everybody?
Yeah, maybe instead of worrying about the DH, they worry about the shift.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I thought it was a really interesting idea. It's a very cool way of thinking to try and fix a problem, you know?
It is.
The more I think about it, the more I'm not really a fan.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see that there are new ideas like this out there that they're floating. I mean, it's very against Major League Baseball to even think about this sort of massive change.
Right. There we go.
A few last things to mention before we throw to Mr. Groshans here. Number 1, hey, check it out. Type in the Walk Off Podcast in YouTube. First thing that comes up.
Yeah, we did it.
So good work. Good work to all of you out there helping us get that algorithm to the point where we're coming up now. That's great. We've got Jordan Groshans' full interview is going to be up there come this afternoon. We've got a couple clips of his up there right now. Of course, all of the full conversations with all of our guests are currently on our YouTube
You
page.
bet.
Subscribe, like,
Comment,
all that
all
good
of it.
stuff. It all
Yep.
helps. So again, honestly, to all the listeners out there, thank you so much. Adam and I were really struggling the last couple of weeks trying to figure out how to get that thing to come up, and now it is.
Yeah.
So
So it's
uh,
rough when even when people who are looking for you can't find you.
yeah,
Really,
I know
you
that's
feel
if
hopeless.
it's that hard to find our podcast, no one's going to
Yeah.
find it. Yeah,
So
that's
we're
right.
making progress.
And then the last thing is the Jays did sign 11 international free agents over the last week here. Most of them out of the Dominican. Of course, they've got a big tie to the Dominican Republic, always have.
Hmm.
I mean, our biggest stars of all time are Jose Batista and Carlos
Ah,
Delgado and Edwin Encarnacion, and they're all
you
Dominican
bet.
guys. So the big guy that they signed is Beltre.
Right, the shortstop,
What's his first name?
Manuel.
Manuel. There you go. You got it. Manuel Beltre. He's 16 years old, and the scouting report on him is he hits like a professional ball player already. His hitting acumen is way above a 16-year-old,
Hmm.
so that's cool. That's the thing with these international free agent signings is that a lot of them are lottery card picks
Right.
because they are getting them so young
Hmm.
and so raw and so undeveloped that it's really kind of up to the system to develop them and see where things land. But we've seen it work before. Last 16-year-old the Jays signed was Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Yeah.
So
Well, the thing with Beltre too is that yes, he's 16. So is he realistically going to help us in this competitive window of 5 years that we've talked about? Maybe not in the sense of he might not be an asset on the field or in the lineup, but he is certainly has the potential to be a prospect that we can trade to add a
exactly,
piece. So even if we're not excited
exactly.
about him because he's so far away, he can't help us out. He can help us just in the fact that he's a piece that we can trade for a marquee addition 3 or 4 years
I
from
mean,
now.
that is the truth because if you look at even if the guy turns out to be a stud superstar like Bo
Hmm.
Bichette, Bichette got brought up at 21,
Right.
so we're still 5 years away from him even getting a sniff of the big leagues. And the truth is, probably a lot closer to seven
Yeah.
years away.
Honestly.
So,
All right. Well, good talking to you.
yeah, man, always a pleasure. Thank you, everyone out there, for listening. Big ups on you helping us get to the point where our YouTube stuff is coming up.
Thank you
Yay.
so much, and we'll talk to you again on Monday.
Enjoy Jordan Groshans, everybody. Cheers.